around for a while. I've heard this, I guess, a number of times, somewhat similar to this anyway. But it's a class of study covering 3 years, and usually through our junior high school years. It covers 1 year of Bible doctrine. We take the major doctrines of the Bible and we cover them. Then we have a year when we teach what we call a Bible survey class, kind of touching on the history and the geography of the Bible. And then another year we have church history, when we study the great men and events that have brought the church where it is today. Help the young people in years to come when somebody talks about Martin Luther or John Wesley or John Calvin or Augustine or on and on and on. They know a little bit, at least, of what those people were, who they were, and what they stood for and what they did. So this is our class. The purpose of the class? Well, first of all, maybe we should start out in a negative way. The purpose of the class is not. And that is, by attending this class, it does not necessarily mean that when you graduated you are a Christian. Now we would hope and we try to always present as clear as possible to the class the way of salvation, what God has provided in Jesus Christ. But it's only by accepting Him a person becomes a Christian, not by a course of study. And so by simply completing the class does not necessarily mean that a person has made that decision. Also, by attending the class, it does not make you a member of this church. If you're interested in church membership, we'd be glad to sit down and talk to you about what is required. It's not very detailed then, but it's not, attending this class does not necessarily make you a member of our church. Well, positively, why do we have a class? Well, the class is given to young people with the idea of giving them a basis in each of the 3 different areas of study that will help them to better understand the background of the teaching and the preaching in the church. And that for the rest of their lives, if they learn it well, it will be a help to them in time together, in the church, in their home, wherever it might be. Each year, along with our classwork, we have some memory work. We have a different assignment each year. 1 year we have the 10 Commandments, which was our assignment this year. 1 year we have the books of the Bible, and we worked on those as well this year, some of them. Each year when we have our doctrinal study, we have a series of verses that go with the various doctrines that we memorize. Some of those outstanding verses of the Bible. Then along with our class as well, we have a Bible reading program. And during the 3 years the young people are in the class, if they follow the schedule we lay out for them, they'll read nearly completely through the Bible. Now we do leave out a couple books. We don't have to read 1st and 2nd Chronicles. If you know those, there's a lot of lists of names there that young people cannot understand or pronounce, and we don't want them to get bored by them. But a good part of the Bible we would read through in those 3 years. Then also we have another department, and this one they all enjoy, I think. Taking sermon outlines. Right, fellows? But the idea of this is to give them practice and learning in following the sermon in the morning. And help them to listen to it. Probably better than some of the adults do. But that's a part. So this is what makes up our class. And we try to make it as helpful in as many ways as we can for these young people. That they can learn to be good students in the Bible, in the church, and help them to understand that in the years to come, they can be growing useful Christians. And this is our purpose. So this is the class, and those up here today have completed it. And we're going to have them give you a little what we have gone through. And we're going to start out with we have 5 members in the class, and we've divided our Old Testament study into 5 different areas, and each one's going to present one. So we'll start with Jared Bowe, and then followed Jared will be Steve Nelson. So we'll go on. Go through this.
When God created the heaven and the earth was a shapeless mass. The Spirit of God was bonding over the dark vapor. God said, "Let the earth have the light." And there was light, and then there was darkness. Again, he called it the light daytime and the dark nighttime. And then he said, "Let the vapors separate from the sky above and the oceans below." Then God said, "Let the water beneath the sky gather into the oceans so that the dry land will emerge." He called the land earth. He called the waters the seas. And God said, "Let the earth burst forth and every sort of grass and seed-bearing plant and the fruitless trees seed inside of the fruit, so that the seeds will produce all kinds of plants and fruits and become plentiful." Then God said, "Let the bright lights in the sky give to the earth to identify the day from night. They shall bring 4 seasons of the earth and mark the days of the years, and they were a sun and a moon." Then God said, let the waters fill with fish and other wildlife, and let the skies fill with birds and every kind of animals. And he created, and then he said, "Multiply, stock the oceans." And he said to the birds, "Let the numbers increase, fill the earth." And then the wildlife was made. Then God said, "Let us make man, someone like ourselves, to be a master." He said, "Multiply and fill the earth, subdue it, and then on the 7th day we will rest."
God wanted people whom we can entrust the scriptures. He wanted people to be his witness to other nations. He wanted people through whom the promised Messiah would come. God chose Abraham to be the father of all nations. Abraham had weaknesses. He told Sarah to lie about being his wife when they traveled to Egypt. He had a child by Hagar, the Egyptian maid. He laughed at God's word when they said they would have a son. He also had strength, so believed in God. He was willing to offer his son Isaac as a sacrifice at God's command. Abraham's children were split up into 2 people. His child by Sarah was Isaac, the Jewish people. His child by Hagar was Ishmael, and they were the Arab people. After Sarah's death, Abraham married again and had more children. His nephew Lot had problems. Like he does Joseph, for better reason. Abraham had to rescue Lot from his enemies, and Lot lived in a wicked city called Sodom. Isaac married Rebekah, who was sought out by Abraham's servant. After 20 years, twin boys were born to him. God foretold the older brother would have to serve the younger. Abraham deeded everything he had to Isaac, who was to be very successful in agriculture. Jacob, he bought his brother's birthright. He tricked his father into having and give him Esau's blessing. Because of Esau's anger, Jacob fled to Haran to his uncle Laban. Jacob desired to marry Laban's daughter Rachel. He worked 7 years to marry her, but he was tricked out of his wedding. He was given her older sister Leah as his wife. Because of his enduring love for Rachel, he agreed to work for another 7 years. Jacob had 12 sons and 1 daughter. His favorite sons were Joseph and Benjamin because they were born to Rachel. Jacob finally left due to his trouble between the herdsmen and returned to Canaan and his brother Esau. Jacob eventually moved to Egypt and gave his blessings to his sons. On his way back, he slept in Bethel with his head on a rock. He had a dream that a ladder extended to heaven. God talked to him and made promises made to Abraham and Isaac. Jacob's name was changed from Jacob to Israel. Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. His brothers hated him and plotted to kill him. Instead, they sold him as a slave to a caravan of Ishmaelites going to Egypt. There, the Pharaoh of Egypt gave him a wife. Joseph was placed in charge of Potiphar's household, but was framed by Potiphar's wife and was put in prison. Joseph was placed in charge of the other prisoners. Joseph interpreted the Pharaoh's dream and was placed in charge of storage and distribution of grain. Joseph's brothers came to Egypt because of the famine, and when they came the second time, he identified himself. Wagons were sent to move Jacob and 70 relatives to Egypt, where Pharaoh provided them with choice.
Thank you. Now we're going to give you the books of the Old Testament. And we're going to do it a little different way than what we used to do. I'm going to have to stand up here and say them all together, but each one is going to have a place to put theirs in, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, now.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges,
First Samuel, 2 Samuel,
Corinthians, 2 Kings,
First Chronicles, 2 Chronicles,
Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther,
Psalm, Proverbs,
Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah,
Jeremiah,
Lamentations, Obadiah, Daniel, Hosea,
Joel,
Amos, Ezra, Zephaniah, Jonah, Jonah,
Ahab,
Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah,
Malachi,
Brother, some night. Now we're going to have Brian Olson come and present his.
During the period of 1400 BC to 950 BC, there's something called the Exodus, Conquest, Chaos. It deals with that after the death of Joseph, new kings began to persecute the Israelites, making them serve as slaves. The Conquest deals with the birth and early life of Moses. Moses was born in the tribe of Levi. The woman who conceived him hid him in a basket for 3 months in the river. He was found by Pharaoh's daughter. Moses' sister, Miriam, arranged with Pharaoh's daughter to have his mother care for him during his early years. Moses was transferred to the palace and given the best education possible. At 40 years of age, Moses was concerned about the mistreatment of his people. One day, Moses witnessed an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. He didn't like this very much, so he killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. Moses fled to the city of Bday and became a sheep herder. He married the daughter of Jethro and had a son named Gershom. Moses now kept the flock of sheep and led them over the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God. And God led Moses through a burning bush to lead the Israelites out of bondage. Finally, after 430 years in Egypt, the Israelites were free. The conquest deals with the conquering of the land of Canaan. The places that were conquered were Jericho, Ai, Southern Campaign, and Northern Campaign. At Jericho, the people marched around the city 7 times, once each day, and on the 7th day, the walls fell and they captured the city. At Ai, the Israelites were defeated because of the sin of Achan. His sin was that he kept some of the possessions he found at Jericho. After dealing with his sin, the Israelites defeated Ai. The Southern Campaign was a series of battles, including battle of Gibeon, where many were put to death by large hailstones. It was also here that the sun stood for a day following Joshua's prayer. The Northern Campaign came to be that after 7 years of war, Joshua had subdued 31 kings and the land rested no more. The chaos deals with dividing the land of Israel into 12 tribes. The tribe of Levi, however, consisted of the cities only in agreement with their vow to the sacred service of the priesthood. These cities were scattered throughout Canaan, so the Levites had cities within the land of each tribe.
Thank you. All right. Now we're going to have them come and say the Ten Commandments for you. And we'll do that somewhat the same way.
God spake these words, saying,
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, and out of the house of bondage.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image of any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or in the earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
and showing mercy unto them that love me, and keep my commandments.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh the name in vain.
Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that was in thy gates.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it.
Honor thy father and mother, that they may along upon land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
Thou shalt not kill.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor thy manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his dogs, nor his ass, nor his neighbor's tent.
Now we're going to have the final two parts of the Old Testament. Well, I'm Jeremy Sherman, followed by Jeremy.
Hannah prayed for a son, and God gave her Samuel. Hannah presented Samuel to the Lord, and he lived in the temple with Eli the priest. He was the last judge of Israel. When the Israelites demanded a king, Samuel anointed Saul, who was the first king of Israel. Saul reigned for 40 years. Saul's army was often victorious, and his prestige as king was strengthened. But when Saul was told to destroy everything from fighting against the Amalekites, he disobeyed. Saul then became jealous of David, who won many victories. He made many attempts on David's life. In a battle against the Philistines, Saul's 3 sons were killed. Saul fell on his own sword and died. David became the second king of Israel, and was also anointed by Samuel. At the age of 18, David killed the Philistine giant Goliath. At the age of 30, he became the king, and reigned for 40 years. David committed a sin against Bathsheba and her husband, but he repented of his sin and God forgave him. David was a man whom God honored, because David honored God. Solomon, David's son, became king after David's death. God offered him a choice of gifts. He chose wisdom. He became very wealthy and wise. Solomon built the temple according to instructions David received from the Lord. Solomon's downfall was due to his pride and his 1,000 heathen wives. The kingdom was then divided into 2 parts, Israel and Judah. Solomon's son Rehoboam became king of Judah. He was not a good king. Judah had 20 kings, ranging from very good to wicked. Judah fell as a nation to Babylon in 587 BC. Jeroboam became the king of Israel. He was not a good king. All 19 kings of Israel were bad. The country was captured by Assyria in 722 BC.
Due to the sin and idolatry of Judah, the rebellion happened to the nation of Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar. Babylon was located in the southern part of the Tigris-Euphrates Valley, which is now part of our area today. There were 3 groups of captives. In 606 BC, Nebuchadnezzar invaded Jerusalem, took Jehoiakim and the nobles, including Daniel, into captivity. In 537, Nebuchadnezzar invaded Jerusalem again, and this time took Jehoiakim and his mother, his servants, his princes, and his officers into captivity. In 586 BC, Jerusalem was invaded for the 3rd time. resulted in the final destruction of Jerusalem, the temple burned, and the majority of the population was deported to Babylon. The name Judah was used to refer to the Hebrews belonging to Babylon. Other names were Israelites, Hebrews, and children of Jacob. Babylon let Jews live together in community, this way they kept their national or religious identity. Synagogues were made so that Jews would have a place to worship. 3 lessons were learned here. God can be worshipped anywhere, idolatry was cured, and the promises of the Messiah became clear and the desire for his coming increased. Several Jews also held high government roles. Daniel was one of 3 presidents that ruled over the kingdom of the days. Esther became queen when she married King Xerxes. During the night of feasting, handwriting appeared on a wall in the palace. Belshazzar, the Babylonian king, summoned Daniel to interpret the writing. He told the kingdom would fall to the Medes and Persians. Cyrus became the king of Persia in 538 BC, and 2 years later, after 7 years of captivity, the Jews were granted permission to return home. In 536 BC, Zerubbabel led 42,500 Jews back to Jerusalem. These Jews rebuilt the temple in 4 years. In 450 BC, Ezra led a second group to champion the first group. He called and made straight from the Lord. Israel then caused the group of people to repent their sin. Arriving in 445 BC was destroyed by Nehemiah. After 50 years, he completely rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem. Several books of the Old Testament were written during a period of Israel's history. Daniel, at times he occupied high offices in Babylonian and Persian empires. Ezekiel, he prophesied the destruction of Israel and Jerusalem. Ezra, he recorded the release of the first 2 groups and the rebuilding of the temple. Esther, she was the queen of Persia under King Xerxes. Nehemiah, he was the cupbearer for the Persian king, and he also rebuilt the wall. Haggai and Zechariah, these 2 wrote to encourage the Jewish people as the first 2 priests returned to Jerusalem. Malachi, he prophesied about the coming of John the Baptist and the second coming of Christ.
Thank you, fellas. Completes their part of the program. I'm sure they're all relieved that it's done. I think it is a good job. It's not as easy to stand up here as some people think. But along with our graduation, we have 2 things that we give them. We give them a certificate that just tells us they have completed the course, and then we give them a nice Bible that I hope they will take, read, study, and live the year ahead. And so we have today these we'll give to them, and we will call on each one of them up and set theirs. Jared, come. Lord bless you, Jared. And trust to read that and live. Thank you. Steve Nelson. Lord bless you, Steve. And trust to live that book, read that book, live that book in your life. Ryan Olson. Lord bless you, Ryan. And I trust you will live that book, read that book, study it, make it part of your life. We have 2 Jeremys in our class, so it always had to be Jeremy S. and Jeremy T. So we have Jeremy S. or Jeremy Sher. God bless you, Jeremy. Trust you to read the book and study it, make it part of your life. And one of the things of having a name that starts with a T is to usually get toward the end. Jeremy Todd. God bless you, Jeremy, and trust that you'll read and study that book and make it part of your life. Trust that this class has been a help to them. I always learn something in the class every year. Sometimes I guess maybe more than other times, but always something. And it's really good to study together. Now let's turn our hymn books again. The hymn number 393. Lord of Jesus. 392. Let's stand as we sing. class is that several of our class members, I had some of their parents in that class when we first came here. And that gives you a little indication of the years that go by. We try to fix this. And then give you a flag. The young people will be out in front if you'd like to go out, talk to them, shake hands with them, and congratulate them. Yeah, that's just all. Father, we come now. We thank you for this day, this morning. Thank you for your goodness upon us. Thank you for the blessings you give us. Now, Father, we ask you to be with us as we go. Help, Lord, that each one of us might go rejoicing all that we have in Jesus Christ. We thank you in his name.
It's on. That's why I told little Brandon to wear it. Do you think you're hot? Should I see if you're wild?
Yeah, I like that. Towards you, it's quiet. Yeah. You could do it in my yard too, like it's south wind, it'll hit the garden. There's no wind, because you know you're quiet.
Yes, I know, he tells me all the time. I don't. That's why it's okay. Oh.
Somebody should narrate now, so they hear what's 20 years from now, they know what's going on today.
Yeah, well, he can put it in there.
You can dub it in later too.
That's what you got the...
You better do that, you better do that, Larry. You got a good voice.
Turn it around, Jared.
He's got to look at it himself
Oh,
first.
okay.
Oh,
What is it?
Mimi! That's nice.
What is it, Jared? Who's it from?
It's mine.
It's from the grandma and grandpa. Sure.
Did you buy that done up that way? Yeah. We went to the book Bible shop and they happen to have this. The trouble is they'll never find one with
I
Jaden
looked
on
all
it.
over for Jaden, that's what I was saying.
I was just wondering if a person could send in.
You can,
You can, yeah.
they can have the meeting.
Jaden is a Bible name, you know,
Yeah,
so you'd think they would have a meaning of
They
it.
don't.
But they don't have it there. Jordan is another one they don't have like that, but there are Jordans all over the country now.
They'll have to make them.
Yeah.
There isn't many Jadens.
No, there's still not many ones.
Kind of exclusive, huh?
He's one of a kind.
That's exclusive.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good day for you though when you guys do this now, isn't it? No more, unless you want to take notes.
Testing them.
Oh, it was so fun. I just felt like I had such a good day.
Wow, that's good.
And of course, Bill is so good. You know, he's told me so many times to come down there. Oh, don't forget to come down and see us, you know. So that was really fun. Bill Peterson, he used to be in wheat, you know, the wheat marketing man, and now he's oats and rye. But I've talked to him since I started there.
And have you ever seen him before?
Yeah. Oh, he was here about 5-6 years ago. You've
Pushing
seen
the
him
button
too,
in.
I'm sure.
Aye.
He's a
Oh, I thought you were trying to get
tall,
farther.
skinny fella.
I think we get his focus,
He's
but
put on a little weight
I
now.
want to focus when we get on.
Too much.
Well, it's just, but
And last year, you know, Bruce was there. And
is this all in Minneapolis?
Arnold and I had those tickets to the, you know, to that game. He didn't want to go, so
What game was that?
we were going to give them to you.
The Metrodome. I've been there.
What? I know it's in where? In the film, in the camera.
Heather's pictures of when she got her hair cut.
It's mine too. It was, we had to go and check on grass.
Show me your shoes, too.
Have you seen grasshoppers? Yeah, we should. You got them? We're on the teams over there on that land over there.
Heather,
Yeah, they're so tiny.
is there a lot of them over there?
I haven't seen any in the field, but
Because
I know. I didn't see you when they.
you got your cap on straight, Heather?
oh, change your cap. Can't have your cap on straight.
That straight?
Can't have it straight.
Oh.
And they had one.
On Dad's face.
$5 for it. Grandma.
You wanna win a bike for me then?
Smile, say cheese.
Boogie. That noise? Is that noise now?
Quite enough.
No.
Well, there.
The bright new colors.
They had them years and years ago.
Oh yeah, but they're really in the style now.
Yeah, they worked for a while then too. I've got a t-shirt that color.
Is that right?
I think it's a turtleneck. Remember I used to wear it.
Do we have to stand to sing, I suppose?
Before I knew him.
You can give them nothing in doxology.
No, but we sing better when we stand.
Oh.
Isn't that what they say?
More room for
I
air.
don't know if it makes any difference.
Okay, you start us out, somebody who can sing.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Heather. Happy birthday to you. Congratulations.
Sure. Congratulations instead of happy birthday, that's all that's different.
That'll work. Okay.
Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Congratulations, dear Jeremy. Congratulations to you.
Heather's embarrassed. Okay, now we better pray and
Larry, we had well,
no, you
in my
have to
gauge,
this
it's
way.
about a quarter inch, but you see that gauge.
Okay. Stay
That's why I'm saying two caps. The ball was floating a little low.
I jump, but I don't know. Better look out for the planes flying around.
If you sit down on the ground, you'll pull straight out there. That's what's happening. I lost it. No, where? Oh, okay. I'm low. I was going up.
I mean, we've got fishing lines out there and string on the other hand. There's a bobber on it someplace. You can't even see it.
A bobber?
Bobber?
Can't you let it out faster?
I watch it just in the wall.
Oh, it'll catch itself before it gets around.
Yeah, but then I kept going back up because there's too much string on it.
You can climb it, you can just climb.
Yeah, the wind, I can't even tell what the wind's like. It's so heavy, the string already.
A lot to hang on to. You got regular string on there for waves?
Yeah.
Should have fishing line all the way, huh? You think you're gonna hit the clouds?
Well, we're trying.
Oh, so I'm going ahead of you.
Yeah.
You're going fast like that.
Well, guys, I'm finished. Never been out of the guy now. You'll be running.
But it'll take 2 days. Should I bring my car over here just in case?
Have a wrap around for the rim on there and just spin it in. It's cold.
Hey, Kite! Give me a play when I'm playing this! I have it the back. Hi, Grandpa! What you looking at? She's a baby, you can see that. What? This. Oh,